Hello, welcome to episode 101. Give you a second to get caught up, and then we'll do it like we always do. So, how's everybody doing tonight? Let's see who hops in first. Jeff, there you are. Good evening, Jeff. How are you, sir? Good to see you as well as always. Katie, good evening to you. There we go. Sue is here. Angie's here. Good evening. Good evening to both of you. Sandra, hello. Let's see. Lisa is in. Very cool. Julie from Kentucky. Good to see you for sure. Colby, good evening. How are you? Let's see. Ruth Ann is in. I'm good. Thank you for asking. Ethel's here. Good evening. Stephen, good evening, sir. How are you? Paulette from Southern California. Vicky, hello. How are you? Araceli, good evening. Jill, good evening. How are you? Boulder, Ellen, good evening from you. Tommy, hi. How are you? Good evening. Memphis, Kim's checking in. I think we got every state covered again. Always, maybe not every, but it's always fun. Linda, good evening to you. Kathy from California. California is very well represented. Hope from Minnesota. Good evening. Marie, hello from Colorado. Nitha's in here. How are you? From Indianapolis. Mary Lou from Texas. And Terry, hi. Georgia from Northern California. New to the live. Good to see you for sure. Thank you for being here. Janice is from California, just eating dinner after a workout. Good work there. Pam from Vermont. I think that's new. I don't think we've had Vermont before. So very, very neat. Tiffany is from the Twin Cities. Good evening. Tucson, Pamela. Angie, what episode did you say about the water? I don't know off the top of my head, but if you go into the app and you pull down on the screen, there'll be a search bar at the top, Angie. And in that search bar, type in water, and that should give you the show number. Lenny, good evening to you. Westport, Jody, how are you? Los Angeles, Terry. Kim from Memphis. From Nashville. Very cool. Lori, hello, how are you? Linda from Long Island. Cynthia from Illinois. Man, all kinds of fun stuff tonight. Corey from Missouri. And let's see, Nancy is in from Florida. Marianne, I saw your message just as I was going. We had a little bit of some fun stuff going on here as always, so get that squared away. Nitha, you get your 4-month award today. That's very cool. 16 weeks. That proves you can do this. Yeah, absolutely. As long as you don't quit, just like that, you're going to get it done. So good work. Vincennes, Karen's in here. Very nice. Very nice. So let's go. Let's see what else we got going on. Corey is in from Missouri. Cynthia from Illinois. Very nice. I think we got a lot of this. Let's see what else we got here. Hope. Hope is at 16 weeks. Very nice. Let's see. I'll mention both of those during the show. Very fun. Yeah, not quitting. It doesn't work if you quit. Judy from Vero Beach. Good evening. Angie, good evening to you. Let's see. The weekly topic wasn't. Yeah, Jeff, I agree with that. The weekly topic was intense. I don't think we'll get into that here, but it's an intense topic for sure. May, good evening to you. Let's see. Araceli was saying I tell you were listening to your WhysAdvice this morning when you were sipping on your coffee. Oh no. And so your comment cuts off. So I'll have to find it after the show and get back to you. Let's see. Huntersville, North Carolina. Linda's in. May is almost 1 year at Lifetime in 3 weeks. That's very, very nice. Danielle from Nebraska, Pamela from Iowa. So cool. A lot of folks here. Let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. What do you think? You guys ready for it? I think it's always fun to get it going, I think. That way you can get to bed, I can get to bed. Laurel hit 1 year of not quitting. Very nice. So... all right. Testing 1, 2, 3. All right, ready? Denver. Ann's in here from Denver. Very nice. Let's see what else I missed. All right, let's roll. That's how you know, right, Jeff? When the bottle of water comes out, it's time. All right. 101. Here we go. I am your host, FatDag, and you're listening to WhysAdvice. My weight loss journey failed when I focused on how. It wasn't until I switched my focus to why that I truly transformed myself. Join the show on the web at FatDag.com and follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at WhysAdvice. Send in your comments, your questions, and your celebrations, and I'll include them as part of the show. But before we dive in, remember, when you're out of points, stop eating points. Hey, I'm honored to be your wingman as we walk through this journey together because I believe in you. Well, here we are, episode 101, and I'm still kind of in a little bit of shock and awe from the 100th episode tribute that you guys sent in. May I tell you, I've listened to that thing about 3 other times now on my commute, and every time I hear it, I hear something different. And I'll be brutally honest with you. You know, the night that you guys got to watch it live, it was extremely special. You know, my wife was here, my daughter was here, and we kind of all were just kind of taking it in for the first time because we didn't really, you know, we didn't know what to expect at that point. And, you know, looking back, it would have been nice if I would have had a chair for them, and I apologize to them for not having them in a chair. But great sports for them to hang out. But we had a chance as a family to talk about it, and you know, yeah, it's such an honor, and I say this, you know, all the time, and I say I'm honored to be your wingman as we walk through this journey together. And I don't know if you understand truly what I mean by that. And you know, and what I mean is that when I reached goal and when I reached lifetime, those were 2 things that I didn't even think were possible in my journey. It wasn't something I was expecting. Sure, I hoped for it. You know, and sure, I wanted it, but I didn't really believe it for a long time. And so the fact that I got there, and now that I'm living, you know, this journey at a lifetime, at an ideal weight, and I'm healthy and happy, when I say I'm honored to walk this journey with you, what I mean is I'm honored to walk with you as you find your way to where I'm at. Or if you're already where I'm at, we walk together and we continue to encourage others to get here because it's such an amazing feeling that there's no other way to describe it. So other than just got to experience it. So the fact that I'm here and I want to, you know, I've been tapped and tasked to carry this message forward for you, to encourage you to get here, man, it just means the world to me. And that 100th tribute that you sent in just reconfirms that for me. I had a chance again as I was driving to work to listen to it. I hear something different, like I said, every time. And as I listened to it in silence or, you know, in my car, it hit me a couple times, and I just really kind of emotionally broke down because to understand that you know, I didn't believe I could get here, And I see that a lot of times folks don't believe they can get here, but then I can see it when it turns around and they all of a sudden believe it. So it is a complete honor again for me to be able to tell you what I know and encourage you and bring you here, and together we get this done. So always thank you for being here for sure. Before I open the show, a couple quick shout outs from the Facebook crew, a couple of cool celebrations, and these are kind of my favorite. Hope and Nitha both at a 16-week award, meaning for 16 weeks they've been on the program and work in the program. That's not easy. Because there's a lot that goes on mentally during that 16 weeks that makes a lot of us say, I can't do this. I'm done. I'm giving up. And you can't do that on this journey. That's the one thing that has to stay consistent, is that you can't give up. Everything else has some flexibility. Everything else has some good days and some bad days, but the quitting part, that's just something you can't give up on. Now, in that same conversation, Laura wrote in, I'm at 1 year of attendance. That's exactly how you go from 16 weeks to 1 year. All of that just continues to give you the success on this program. It helps shape the mind, and the mind, as we know, is very much in control of this journey. So continue to get it done. Quitting only gets you a new start date. You don't need to give up on the journey. What you need to do is every day reset, and I'll go one step further. Every meal you can reset. That's right. When I had a conversation with another leader today, Tony. Tony and I were chatting on the phone on my way home from work today. We had a great conversation. We talked about the post I put on Connect today, where I call it the rule of thirds. And what I mean by that is, there are some days when we, for whatever reason, we go off plan early in the day. Whether right after breakfast or just before lunch, or something happens and we're completely out of points way earlier than we thought we did. We didn't do it intentionally. It just kind of happened. And it's those days where a lot of us just say, I give up, and we just go, all reckless abandon for the rest of the day. And then we go to bed miserable. And then the common saying is, well, you can wake up on plan. Well, the conversation that him and I had today was, wait a minute, maybe you don't need to wake up on plan. I want you to go to bed on plan. And so you can have a morning where you overate for breakfast, overate for lunch, but if you take that rule of thirds and you say, I'm going to use 1/3 of my points, and I'm going to reel it in at dinner time, and I'm going to have, even though I may have had a ton of points for breakfast and a ton of points for lunch, I understand that a third of my day for dinner, let's say it's 12 points, if I can continue and reel myself in for a 12-point dinner, then I can go to bed on plan. And if I go to bed on plan, I wake up on plan, ready to go, and continue rocking it. So I want you to reset at the very next meal, not necessarily wait for the next opportunity in the morning. Go to bed on plan. It's extremely powerful. You go to bed feeling much better about yourself, waking up on fire, ready to get it done. The first up is Jackie. Jackie writes in and says, Hi, Mike. I have a somewhat different issue. 2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with colon cancer. After surgery, I had to undergo chemo because it was in some of my lymph nodes. I actually gained weight on chemo. A little over a year after my diagnosis, in January of 2016, I joined Weight Watchers. Since that time, I've lost 76 pounds, and I feel great. I've got about 30 left to go. But once again, life has thrown me a curveball. In the past month, I've been in the hospital twice with a bowel obstruction due to scar tissue from my cancer surgery. I now have to eat what's called a low-residue diet. I can't eat raw fruit or vegetables. I have to avoid nuts, seeds, whole grains, beans, anything that isn't digested easily. The good eating habits I put into action over the past 1.5 years, I can no longer practice. It's really messing with me mentally and making it very hard to stay on track. I'm still trying to work the program with my limited diet. I'm also exploring medical options so that I can return to my healthy eating. I'm sure some of your followers have faced difficult situations. Any advice is appreciated, Jackie. Well, Jackie, what an honor to have this conversation with you at this point. And, you're a survivor and you're doing fantastic. I wish you absolutely the best in your recovery. let's start with that. Let's focus on what you've gone through, and the fact that you're now able to still continue to tell the story and communicate the story. That is the celebration that we absolutely need to understand and go with. Here's where I want to go with this, and obviously this has to be worked very closely with your physician, and I'm sure you're having constant communication with them. But what I want you to do is have that conversation and get a list of foods that you can eat that are approved for you based on your medical needs. Because every food out there, you have a list of foods you can eat. You can't go without eating. So there's something that you're finding that's working for you food-wise. The beauty of this program is anything you can find that's food-wise actually has a point value. So the program doesn't change for you in that regard. You have a list of foods you can eat. You understand the point value of them. You know what your daily targets are. It's simple math at this point to make sure that you hit the points. When you're out of points, you stop eating points, right? But you work the plan based on the diet that you're given, and you go that direction. Now, we understand that there's a little more to it than that. So in your case, you're going to have to make an adjustment from what you've used to eating to what now you're going to have to relearn a new palate, relearn some new taste buds, program them a little differently to have some new foods. But the program part that you've lost 76 pounds on hasn't changed. So you understand that it works, and you understand you can get it done. And so now you just work it in with what you're now allowed to eat. Now, you nailed one big key piece to this, is that everything that's going on is really messing with your head mentally and making it hard to stay on track. Yeah, that absolutely is the key. The mind controls most of this journey for many of us. If you solve that, you put yourself in a position to win. You have some great things in your toolbox. The most important thing you have is you have the fact that you know how to fight. You know how to fight and win, and you're a survivor. That is an amazing feat. So you have that going with you. The other thing you have going with you is you've lost 76 pounds, so you know the program works, and you know how to work it, and you found the willpower at some point to stop eating points when you're out of points and gotten that done. So those two things, combined with now some new evidence and some new food choices that you now get to experiment with, that is what's going to carry you to goal. I have complete confidence, Jackie, that you can get this done. I believe in you. I believe you can do it, and I wish you the best of focus. Next up is an anonymous email. I got a couple anonymous emails tonight, and I thought they were important enough to read, but the folks didn't want to share, and that's perfectly fine. I completely understand that. And I want to start. It says, "Hello, FatDag. I just started Weight Watchers for the second time, and I'm struggling so much more than I did last year. I canceled my membership last year after my work decided not to pay for it any longer. Once I put the weight back on, plus 10 extra pounds, I decided it was worth the investment to pay for Weight Watchers again. I think it's important to mention that I'm a vegan, because that is what caused me to gain the weight. I relied heavily on processed carbs to make me feel full when I transitioned into this lifestyle 2.5 years ago. My husband is active duty military, so we move a lot. When I did the program last year, I was living in my hometown of San Diego, California, surrounded by friends. Now I'm living in Japan, about an hour away from Tokyo, working full-time and struggling to make friends on the small base that we live on. Last year when I did the program, I was rocking it. I had my mom and one of my best friends doing the program with me. I found a leader that I loved. The meetings were inspiring. I had all the vegan food and fresh produce I could ask for, and I always lost at least 1 pound a week. Now I have no meeting around me. I barely have contact with any of my friends and family due to the time difference, and I work. I find it hard to find vegan food or fresh produce at the commissary. And if I do, the price is ridiculous. I am really struggling this time around. I feel as if other members must be going through similar struggles if they live in a small town with no access to meetings. I'm about 2 weeks into the program, and I feel even worse about myself than when I started. After my first full day, I lost 10 pounds in water weight. I felt great. My coworker even commented that my face looked slimmer after only a few days on the program. I was flying high, but after the initial 10-pound loss, I have not lost any weight. In fact, I just keep bouncing between 2 pounds for almost 10 days now. For the most part, I have blue dots. Some days I like an alcoholic drink with 1 or 2 of my friends. I'm still in my early 20s, and that is one of my main whys. My friends and I can get together late at night. But that's what the weeklies are for, right? I honestly feel heartbroken. I am feeling hungry every second of the day, doing light workouts twice a week, drinking 8 to 10 glasses of water, and trying not to eat too many bananas once my points are done for the day. I honestly feel like quitting. Maybe this program worked for me when I was living my normal life, but it just isn't going to work while living in this bubble for the next 2 years. The only thing keeping me from quitting right now is that if I do, I will immediately gain my weight back. My whys are so that next time I visit my family and my friends, I feel confident in the pictures that they take so I can feel hot again for my husband, and so I can get to a healthy BMI before we begin to try for a baby. I just now realized while typing this out, none of these whys are for myself. So, FatDag, I am in need of some advice. How do I keep motivated with such an early plateau? Other than your podcast and Connect, how can I get that face-to-face motivation? How do I stop feeling so hungry all the time? Any tips on making the program work with only so few healthy food options available to me? To finish up the email, I'd like to say thank you for being a form of a meeting. I used to go to meetings 3 days a week, and they were what really kept me motivated. I listened to your podcast every morning while doing my makeup, and then to get my day started on a good note. Thank you for what you do. Well, I thank you for your email, and yeah, this absolutely is a little bit of a journey for you. So you have a couple tools in your tool belt. Again, you know that the program works. You found yourself in a scenario you're not exactly used to. A couple quick things is obviously you've mentioned Connect and you mentioned the podcast. That is what you're going to have to rely on socially. But there are many other places where you can get that support. I would be surprised to find out if there isn't some sort of support group on the base where you're at that can offer you that meeting environment. I would seek that out. If not, start one. You're not the only one going through this over there, so you can certainly reach out and set that up on that as well. The one word that I want to caution you on is as I looked through your email, it said when you wrote it out, you said for the most part I have blue dots. Now, as you know, I think the blue dots are kind of key to this program, at least for the most part. I agree with you in that term. But when you're struggling and when you're fighting this battle, for the most part is where you can get tripped up. Because for the most part, we've talked about before, the difference between maintaining your weight and losing weight is about 6 points a day. It's different for everybody, but it's really only about 6 points a day. Some people have found that it's only 2 or 3 points a day. So if we're working on the plan and we're about doing well, then those 2 or 3 days that we're not doing so well will cause you to put your body into a maintenance mode, not into a weight loss mode. So that is where I want you to focus. I want you to put all your effort into that piece for now. When you're fighting the battle of being hungry all the time, a couple things is, the protein that we always talk about. The more protein you get, the more that sustains you and keeps you full longer. So start working on that. The body does not understand points. The body understands calories. And so when we talk about, eating fruit and eating vegetables and that type of stuff that we say are 0 points, we're going to get into that a little bit later in the next email, but you need to understand that fruit has calories. And the body understands calories, and the body uses those to store or not store. So if we're overdoing it in there, even though it's 0 points, only the brain understands what a point does. The body interprets that and does the translation and turns them into calories, and that you have to be careful of for sure. The last piece of support is obviously you talked about Connect, but start looking for some hashtags. The hashtags that ring to me is vegan, Japan. Find some of those, support, and do some searching through Connect and find folks who are on a similar journey to you and keep going. Because as you talked about, when you honestly feel like quitting, you already know what quitting gets you. Quitting certainly just gets you a new start date. Now your whys are strong. The way as I read them, they're not all for you. I understand that. I think they're all good forms of why, and I think if you dug a little bit deeper, you would understand that they actually do relate back to you just a little bit. So dig down a little deeper. Take the advice of writing them down. Draw a letter to yourself with pen and paper. Read it often. And the more you read it, the more I want you to focus on following the plan to the best of your ability. I'm absolutely glad to walk this journey with you. I sent you a separate email inviting you to connect differently with me, that I want to bring you into a fold that I'm working on as well. So look out for that. But I want you to understand right now that you have this limited food options where you're at. I understand that. You're still finding ways to eat, and just like we talked about in the previous email, every food has a point value. Stop eating points when you're out of points. But what I want you to do for a little while is, maybe while you make an adjustment, I want you to kind of just eat normally for a week. I want you to kind of just put the program on pause a little bit. And this is going to kind of sound weird, so bear with me for a second as I walk through it. But if you're struggling to find things to eat that fit into the plan, my guess is that you're not struggling to actually eat. You're struggling to find a way to eat on the plan. So what I want you to do is, I want you to take a week and just kind of put everything on pause as far as the search. And I want you to eat healthy, what you believe is healthy. You understand the difference between eating healthy and not eating healthy, regardless of what the points are. So what I want you to do is, I want you to eat normally, eat healthy, however you define it, with the access to the food that you have specifically in Japan at this moment. And I want you to track that to the best of your ability. And at the end of the week, I want you to look at all that data, see what the point value is, and see where you can make some adjustments and changes to work and live off plan. You absolutely can get this done. I believe you can get it done. The fact that you're out there with you and your husband overseas serving our nation, country, proves to me that you're a fighter, proves to me that you're strong. And that is the strength you need to get this done, and you've already developed it. Now it's time to focus it into this journey as well. So thank you for your email. Next up says, Dear FatDag, the email you just sent me reminded me that I can move forward with this journey. I feel horrible that I've been on this journey for over a year and a half, and all I can seem to do is work on my mindset on finding my peace. I know my weight bothers me, but I guess not enough to make me stick with the plan. When I was doing good, I got derailed big time for about 4 weeks. I feel terrible, but was no way for me to see that coming. I went right back to my original 235 pounds. I had gotten down to 218. But out of that derailed disaster, I found peace in my heart, a new job, less hours to work, giving me more time together with my family. I'm still having trouble finding the good day Weight Watcher wise. Your email came in, gave me the strength and the encouragement, and changed my life again. Thank you for your help. Without you, I was giving up today, and tomorrow I was canceling Weight Watchers. I feel horrible about my yo-yo post and ashamed that I have not done better. So here is to one last try. Well, this email that you wrote back to me lets me know that you're not a quitter. Otherwise, you wouldn't have sent it. So we can move forward in the journey, and I'm glad that you signed up for the email newsletter that I had that would, again, bring you back into it. We've talked about more than once that quitting the program does nothing more than give you a new start date. So we have to find a way to do our best as we work the program and make the adjustments along the way. Now, when we get derailed, and you get derailed big time for about 4 weeks, as soon as you get back to your new normal, we talk about doing your best, and your best, before that happened is different than those 4 weeks as it was happening. So as soon as you get something happens, every day you now refocus and say, what do I have today that's different? What does my best look like today? And you make those adjustments based on however you are in that moment, and you do your best at that point. It's the analogy of, if you run a marathon today, your best is not to run it again tomorrow. It would be very difficult to run a marathon faster on day 2 than if you ran it on, you ran it on Monday. It'd be hard to run it faster on Tuesday. So you can't say on Tuesday that doing your best isn't running. Doing your best now is that you have a whole new set of circumstances. You're kind of in that mode, and I want you to do your best based on what you've currently got going on. I don't want you to feel horrible. the fact that you reached out, the fact that you're still working the plan is a huge testament to you. That took strength to even craft the email back. And whatever you've gone through, it took strength to get through it and then continue to get right back to it. So you can do this. You can get it done. I'm honored to be your wingman as we do get it done. You have an amazing support community here in Connect. Find some similar wingmen that are walking with you. Together, let's get you to goal, because you can get there. Last up is Noah. Noah writes in and says, "Hey Mike, I just wanted to share a thought with you. Every time I hear your famous line, when you're out of points, stop eating points, there's a side of me that giggles. I'm an online only guy, but I did try one meeting once. When I went to this meeting, the leader spoke about a lady who was keeping and maintaining her weight and was eating all of her points every day, using some of her weeklies, but she wasn't losing. So she reviewed with her leader and her daily regimen and her snacks. Well, it came out from this conversation that this individual is eating watermelon every single day. Not just one serving of watermelon every day, an entire watermelon. Yes, an entire watermelon every day. No wonder she was maintaining or perhaps gaining a little bit. Well, yes, watermelon has no points, but watermelon still has calories. We love food with 0 points, but 0 points doesn't always translate into calorie-free. To equate water with fruits is foolish to a certain extent. Yes, you and I know that the, so to speak, undercover goal of having 0 point snacks is to eat healthier foods. Granted, we are a point-based system. I'm sure others often say to themselves, well, it's 0 points. Well, that's true. This unfortunately allows us to fool ourselves. Fruit is important and crucial to a healthy diet, but it has natural sugar which will add up. To cut your servings of cheese or turkey or whatever it is to be below a 0 points, we're fooling ourselves that we're eating enough and it's going to add up. It's a psychological twister, which is why some people on Connect, including myself, make fun of the idea of counting blended fruit. That is, somehow our system turns a bowl of fruit that was 0 points mixed with milk, yogurt, or 4 points into a 30-point sitting. Just boggles us. But I think people, including myself, tend to ignore the fact that calories still exist. For example, let me round my servings of chocolate to 2 3/4 servings, which would be 4 points, because when I make serving size of 3, it's suddenly 7 points. But in reality, I've taken 150 calories, and I'm making these figures up, of 4 points instead of 200 calories. Now, I don't claim to know the Weight Watchers formula, but I think there's a lot of truth to it. I'm not sure if I articulated that the way I wanted to, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Just sharing my thoughts. Thanks for all you do, Noah. Noah, so yeah, there's a lot going on in your email. So let's talk about that. So, hey, there are, overeating on fruit. There's way worse things in the world to do. So someone who, obviously sits down and eats an entire watermelon, that's something that we probably all at some point are capable of. We're sympathetic to that side of it, and then it's just the education piece to get us to go, what does that do? And that's the beauty of tracking your fruit, even if it's 0 points. If you're tracking it honestly and you're putting that stuff in, and then you're not getting the results you want on the scale, that allows us to sit there and help you and kind of find a way to get you through that. So it's the same thing if you love grapes and you just finally figure out how much sugar is in them, then you look at that and you say, okay, maybe I don't need that. And you get to cut it down a little bit. Now, the reason, exactly like you said, the reason that fruits and vegetables, many vegetables, end up being 0 points is because many of us aren't having fruits and vegetables in our diet consistently. And that's what leads to the poor food choices and unhealthy snacking. So the way it's kind of figured out is that if you have 4 points left for the day, and the cookie was 4 points and the apple was 4 points, you would never choose the apple. You would almost always grab the cookie. Because if you're going to spend 4 points, you might as well get something that's delicious and yummy, and the apple is probably not it for many of us. So if we then convert and say, let's give you the apple as 0, and we say you can have that 3 or 4 times a day, anything above and beyond that will certainly continue to add back into the calorie intake, even though it's not into your point budget. It goes back to what I said earlier, is that the brain is the only thing that understands points. The body tracks the calories. So we're trying to work on the mindset here. And that's why your fruit is 0 points whether as you eat it. Now, when you take that and blend it in, it goes back to that same thing. We're working on a mindset. So we don't say that it's, that same 0 points has 0 calories and you put it in a bowl, you mix it up, all of a sudden the calories show up. But you can, to eat an apple takes a couple minutes. You can't eat an apple in 3 or 4 seconds, but you could drink a smoothie in about that time. So as you blend it up, it quickly goes down, and then you're instantly reaching for something else to eat. It's well documented on the Weight Watcher website as to why this exists, and you kind of have to do a search for it. Maybe I'll find it and put it in the show notes. But the concept is if you sit down with an orange and you deliberately peel it and open it and take it apart, it's going to take you some time and some effort, and that's just enough time to distract you from whatever else is going on, and then you start back up with your healthy choices. If you take that same fruit and blend it and drink it, you can drink the whole thing in about 3 seconds, and then instantly you haven't made the association of you're full, and then you want to kind of move on at that point. So that's where you want to think. I think for a lot of reasons here, Noah, you're overthinking a lot of this, and I say it with all due respect, is because you're focused so much on how, and so by taking a piece of chocolate and cutting it down small enough to save 3 or 4 points. What's going to happen is you can overthink this process. You can how yourself to goal. You can, if you take 2 3/4 of a chocolate bar and that saves you 4 points, certainly that's right. You will have the success. You'll stop eating points when you're out of points. You can get to goal that way. The danger is you've never changed your eating habits. You've never really addressed the addiction of the chocolate or the sugar, and at some point that 2 3/4 chocolate bar turns into the full chocolate bar as soon as you get complacent. When the complacency trap sets in, it's very hard to resist that very last bite of chocolate on a plate as you've eaten 2 3/4 of it. So again, I think in a lot of ways you're overthinking a lot of this. I want you to focus more on your why. I want you to figure out why it is that you're doing this, and I want you to start eating healthy and make the healthy choices naturally. That will then start making you really appreciate this journey more. That way, when you get to goal, because you're going to get there either way, what I want you to do is I want you to get there healthy and happy so that you can sustain it. And so if you get there focused on your how, at some point, it always creeps back in and you end up going in the wrong direction later on down the road. It may not be right after, it may be a week after, maybe a year after, maybe a couple years after. But as you continue on that willpower slowly weans, something happens, something derails you, and it all kicks back up. But if you make the healthy lifestyle adjustment early on, and you continue with that, then your natural craving is to eat healthy. And that's when we celebrate you get to goal, we celebrate your lifetime, and for the rest of your life, you're living a healthy life, and the scale is just appreciative of it. So that's what we're celebrating today. What is it that you're celebrating? Let's share it on the air. Go to fatdag.com, click on Listen Now, send in your comments, your celebrations, your questions. I'll work them in as part of the show. I want you to email in your celebrations because I want you to be absolutely proud of what you're doing. What you're doing is hard work. What you're doing is absolutely necessary, and you can get it done. Well, that's going to do it for this time. Remember that losing weight and getting healthy has nothing to do with luck. You have to remain disciplined and focused. Set your sights on your goal and go after it. I wish you good focus. Lenny, I saw your comment right at the end. I was going to try and work it in, but I couldn't figure out how to get that in there. So yeah, I didn't join Weight Watchers because I was eating too many apples, or grapes, or watermelon, or bananas. That's not why I joined. It's because I didn't choose those things ever. So you're absolutely right there for sure. So cool. So what do you guys think? What did I miss? What did we not cover? I'm not going to scroll through, as we talked about before. I don't necessarily scroll through the comments anymore. It gets too hard to get back to them. But Teresa's here. Good evening to you. First time live. Thanks for being here. Very fun. Facebook now gives me all kinds of little things on the... I don't know what happens here. Let's see when I do that. Hey, I can actually type in the thing. That's kind of cool. I didn't know I could do that. Let's see. Diane, good evening to you. How are you? Jennifer's here. Drew and Jennifer, got it. So Jennifer or Drew are both here. Very fun. Let's see. Corey, thank you for being here. Denise, hello. How are you? All right, let's see what else we got. Beth Ann, good to see you. Let's see, Mary Lou. Yeah, Mary Lou, fruit is dangerous in a way. I mean, we want you to make the healthy habits, and that's why we give you the fruit as 0 points. I'm not sure what's going on here. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah. Hey, it's Facebook. I don't know. So yeah, Mary Lou. So we definitely want you to choose fruit and be healthy in that regard, but you have to be cautious with it and track it all. So definitely do that. Ray is here. Good evening to you. Diane, I just pressed the little button on the bottom. So yeah. Yvette, 3 to 4 a day is what. So that's the one piece that's probably not talked about a lot. Is when we say fruit is 0 points, we do mean 3 to 4 servings a day. We don't mean unlimited. So, but that's not very talked about very much because again, I would rather have you eat 5 apples than 3 apples and 2 cookies. So, if you continue that trend, it will work itself out down the road. It's just not going to work out week to week. But track it all so we can kind of see that stuff. Yeah, Ellen, I just pressed the button on the bottom. There's all kinds of different things. Let's see what else there is. Way more fun than you need to know. I could put on a bow tie. Jeff, that's exactly right. It all comes back down to moderation. So that is the key to that. Yeah, sorry, playing around. All right, let's get back to this. So where it says here, Enza says, I turned down a donut today at work. I wanted dinner, so I made a choice. Yay, me. That's how you do it, right? There's nothing that says you can't have a donut. But in your scenario, you said, yeah, maybe at some point I'll have it. I'll work it in later. But right now I'm not going to do it. So that's a huge victory. I'm very, very proud of that one because that's how you win. That's exactly how you win. Monica, yeah, so 411, you have to keep the 2 servings a day for the most part. I agree. But what I want you to understand, though, is that if you're going to have 2 servings a day, and then later on you're going to say, oh, forget it, I'm just going to have a cookie instead, I would rather you have that 3rd serving than going negative in your tracker. So, so Denise said, your coworker and I were discussing the podcast today and how you have shaped my healthy eating versus point hacks. Yeah, I'm not a food hack guy. It's just completely my opinion. I guess there's some things I do differently, but like today, my food hack for today was I went to Jimmy John's for lunch. And so the hack I did was I took the sandwich, it's a regular sandwich, I cut it in half. I took the bread out of it and I moved the meat to 1/2 and I had half a sandwich with double meat. Now I don't consider that a food hack. It's still exactly what I wanted. I didn't go to low fat cheese. I didn't go to pita bread. I had the real bread. I had the real roast beef. But I didn't have the full sandwich. I moved it all to have half of it. I threw out about 5 points in bread. But I'm trying to find ways that no matter where I go, I can eat. And if I suddenly have to look for a microwave in the middle of Disney World so I can heat up a Quest bar, then I'm going to be in trouble. So, and I think if you eat healthy and you make those healthy choices, then you can sustain it long term for one, but you're actually eating healthy, which is the goal. and you change your relationship with food versus suppressing those bad habits. So, awesome, Teresa. So glad to hear that. Ever since finding your podcast, I've been getting back in the right frame of mind. So you're ready to refocus tonight, is what your email or your text said. You don't need to refocus tomorrow. You need to refocus right now, because right now you're good. As soon as you stop eating, you can easily be back on plan at that point. So Ray is asking, so you missed your response to the vegan in Japan. Yeah, you'll have to hear it on the podcast episode, and then hopefully I did say look for the vegan hashtag, so hopefully that works as well. Yeah, filters. You guys, I'm catching up to your comments on filters. Let's see. RSLE is saying, yeah, first time that I finished the live video, thank you. And you loved it, yes. And you agree with Jeff. Everyone agrees with Jeff. Fruits were affecting my weight, but now you broke the plateau and you think the fruit was that you're eating way too much. Yep. Fruit still has calories. So again, like I said in the podcast, your brain understands points, your body understands calories. So, and the nutritional makeup of the food. So we're using the 0 points to trick the brain into giving your body more of it. That's why we're doing that. So, and Denise, nothing against Halotop. Hopefully the folks aren't listening, because I have no disrespect to them. I get Dairy Queen on occasion still, but what happens is, tonight's a great example. Every once in a while I still have a Dairy Queen sundae or something. But tonight was another example. Is the family was going there and they asked me if I wanted one. I said, no, not tonight. I will. It's just not tonight, because I'm not at the point in my plan where I can have it. I will though, but I'm not going to go substitute Halotop, because when I'm walking around Disney World, I can't find a Halotop Mickey Mouse ice cream. That just doesn't exist. So I need to figure out how to control that addiction and that sugar with the real food that exists no matter where I go. I can't go to Disney World looking for Halotop. It's just not going to happen. Audrey's saying, used to have members keep track of fruits, vegetables, water, healthy oils, Yep. I don't know why all that went away, Audrey. I have no idea, but I agree with you. It was neat to see those in there. I've been on the plan long enough where I saw them as well. I'm not sure why they went away. So Jennifer's saying the same. So Jennifer, yeah, so people ask, say, hey, well, you can go to Jimmy John's and you can get, the Unwich. Well, I don't want a lettuce sandwich. That's not why I went there. Their bread is fantastic, So just to reemphasize in case you missed it, what I do is I take the sandwich, I have them cut it in half, I have them scoop the inside of the bread out first, so that saves, a handful of points. Scoop the inside of the bread out, make my sandwich, cut it in half, and I move half of it to the other half. I throw away half the bread, and I have one sandwich with double the meat, which is extra protein, and it gets me through an entire day. I had a sandwich like this big. It gets me through an entire day, or a meal, I should say. Yeah, so Jeff saying the Japanese pan noodles at Noodles & Company are very good. 10 points for the small order. There we go, learning everything. Yeah, so Kim says give up half your bread on a burger or a sandwich and you don't miss it a bit. Let's see. Yep, Corey, the Dairy Queen fudge bar is 2 points, and so is, what else do they have? Something else that's 2 points at Dairy Queen that I get on occasion. But sometimes I want a Blizzard, I'll be honest with you. But it's very much planned for, very much controlled, and it's when I'm ready for it, I get it. But tonight was a great example. I probably wanted one tonight, but I just, I'm not there. So I said no. Tonight was, so here's the way I answer. Is like, would you rather have Dairy Queen or would you rather be a Goal? Well, most nights I choose Goal. Some nights I choose Dairy Queen, and I'm okay with that. But tonight I had to choose Goal again. So I did. But that's where it comes from, me being in full control of this plan. Yep. So you guys love the Dairy Queen fudge bar. I think the Dairy Queen here quit selling them. I think that's what was happening here. So Teresa is saying, you ordered the egg drop soup and steamed pork dumplings from the Chinese place. Only ate 4 of the 8. and then 1 cup of the soup. That works. Yeah, so Denise says she does like Halotop, but you've come to terms with your need to limit it. You kind of like you and Quest. Yes, exactly. Quest bars for me, I enjoy them, but I find myself often overeating on them. If I buy an entire box and keep it at the house, I'll eat it quicker than if I have to stop at the store and buy one. So my trick there is I try not to keep them here, because if I keep them here, I eat them too often, because it's an addiction issue, not a food issue. So, Denise is here. Woohoo! Lenny. So at that point, when I do I do a slim 2, and it's a slim 2, so it's roast beef. I don't do any cheese. I don't do any mayo, and I track it as 7 points. You have to, if you go to their app, you can figure it all, or not their app, but their website, you can figure it all out. I track that as a 7-point sub, and I think it was 11 or 12 as a full sandwich. So I got it down to 7 points. But it's exactly what I want for 7 points versus something I don't want for 7 points, and then I'm going to go want the real thing later and again eventually. And and then like I said, I get all the meat, so I'm getting the same amount of meat, same amount of protein as a full sub. I'm just getting half the bread. So let's see. Araceli going to bed. Yep, Angie, I agree. Yep. The orange dreamsicle bar. Yep, you're right. Vito, good evening, sir. How are you? So Vito says he agrees. Eating real food in moderation beats sacrificing great taste on subpar products. Yep, I agree. That's how I'm going to work this for the rest of my life. Is that I'm going to enjoy the things I want. I just have to understand what that means. And so if you can go the rest of your life without it, that's great. If not, you got to figure out how to work it in. And so for me, probably another great example is pizza. This is going to be the food show. I'm sorry, but another great example is I'm not getting rid of real pizza. But there was a time when I would have pizza for 2 or 3 meals a week, and now it's 1 to twice a month. Completely different. But when I get it, boy, do I enjoy it. But once a month is doable. I look forward to it. And so what was happening is I was just ordering it out of convenience. Now I order it deliberately because I want it. Big difference. So, but I'm eating the real stuff. I'm not making a flatbread pizza with, tomato paste on it with low-fat cheese and cracker. I'm just not doing that. Let's see. Reading. Yeah, so you guys are talking about the Dairy. Jeff, I got to the Dairy Queen orange bar. Yeah, and Paulette, that's probably the number one thing, Paulette. I bet you could make a successful diet program by saying no more snacking, right? Just eat 3 meals, and you can eat whatever you want for those 3 meals, almost completely whatever you want. And I'm not a scientist, so don't do this, but the concept is most of my issue was all between. It was the bag of chips here, the candy bar here, the snack late at night. All that stuff was adding up way more, and I cut all that out, and then I still eat real food. Yep. So Angie, same thing. 2 slices tomorrow, and you plan for it. They're probably 7 to 8 points a slice, depending on the brand. Very easy to do. Yep. And so Denise, that same thing here is that my first during the weight loss phase is, I didn't have it very often, but I'm just not going to give that up for life. It's something I enjoy. I'm just not giving it up for life, but I'm giving it up for many weeks at a time. Yep. So that's it, Jeff. So it's the convenience factor is what I've figured out how to solve. So now, I eat some really good food, but I eat it out of deliberate. I'm very, very deliberate on what I eat and when. That is the difference. So I don't think it's a food. Think about. I say this often. You've heard me say it before, but go to the restaurant next time you go to a restaurant, and look at the skinniest person in the restaurant that's there. They'll probably order cake for dessert, or maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it's not the cake, right? So the skinny person's eating cake, but that's probably the only piece of cake they had all month. Whereas I'd have cake for breakfast. That was my issue. So the skinny person who's having cake for dessert is probably, they're not having it for breakfast the next morning. And so I was eating it because it was there. So you got to find out what is going on. And then, so now I figured out that it was my habits were more detrimental to my plan than the actual food quality. So I fixed the habits, and now I'm working on the food quality, and together they're working. But that's kind of how I'm working. So Jill's asking, so Denise is saying issue with portion control. So yeah, same thing, but so what you heard in the email is, someone's taking a chocolate bar and eating 2 3/4 of the chocolate bar. I'm just telling you, that would be very hard for me to take a candy bar, cut it, in thirds and eat 2/3 and then throw away a third. For me, it would be for me, it's easier to throw the whole thing away than it is to cut it in thirds and eat 2/3 and then stare at that last third. But, so I think, we have to that's a moderation piece for sure, but I also think it's a food quality issue as well. There's, the chocolate bar, other than some mental stuff, it doesn't provide any real nutritional value. So, Jill is asking, what about sugar-free applesauce? I don't know enough about sugar-free applesauce, but why would it? It's probably 0 points, right? I don't know. Jill, I'll have to look at that one up. I don't know. Shoot me an email on it, and I'll research it and send something back to you on air at fatdag.com, because I just don't know enough about sugar-free applesauce. I know the real applesauce is like a lot of points, so I don't need it anymore. Let's see. Teresa, good night. So Angie's saying ate way too much before and late at night. Now you have to have something sweet, but now you just have a 3-point bag of popcorn before bed. And so, Angie, the caution I would give you, and I'm glad to see you make that transition, but here's what the caution is that is there still a habit that's associated with that? And the habit is before bed I need to have something to eat. And so at some point, what the concern I have in scenarios like this is that if you've gone from, and you've made that choice, and now the habit says you have to have something tonight before bed, what happens the night you don't have popcorn? And then you have to have something because the habit says I have to have something, and then the habit says popcorn's not here, so then you're like, okay, well, I'll have this instead because that's all I have. So it's the habit is what's going to get you in trouble, not the food quality. So yeah, so Denise, yeah, I mean, I was telling someone today I used to have Doritos and Pepsi for breakfast. True story. I mean, I'd get up in the morning before shower. I'd come downstairs. I'd open the bag of Doritos. I would probably eat, most of the bag, pour a tall glass of Pepsi, and then go shower and start my day. That's terrible. Because that's a habit, and that was bad. Now, there's nothing wrong with either of those two things, but man, not 5 meals a day. So, yeah. So Angie, 0 points for sugar-free applesauce. So, yeah, I think it's yummy then, if you can do the taste of it. But so I don't know. The thing you'll have to look up though is 0 point applesauce. How many calories is it? And so it's probably low in calories, I'm sure, but it's probably not 0 calories. So if let's just say if it's 1,000 calories but 0 points, then you have to be mindful of that. It's probably 100 calories. So if you eat 6 of those a day, that's 600 calories. You could have had a Snickers. But don't have the Snickers. So, right? We talked about that. You're better off with 6 of those health-wise, but that's how the brain works. So Kim's saying sometimes you overdo it early in the day and then try to eat light, but end up overdoing it on the little snacks as a substitute for dinner. Yep. You got to eat real food. So that's Kim. That's where did you see my post today about the rule of thirds? That's where that comes in. I want you to, if you're at a point, stop eating points. I want you to stay on plan. I really do. But if you get to the point where, it's 10 o'clock in the morning and we've overdone it, it's very difficult at that point. At 10 a.m., it's difficult to get through the rest of the day on 0 and low point foods. So at that point, you just say, okay, let me divide my day into thirds. Let me see if I can make it for the rest of the day on 2/3 of my daily points. then you're on plan. You still may be negative for the day, but mentally, you're training your body to get used to that amount of food per meal, and that's the success we're looking for. Yep. So sugar-free popsicles are good. I agree with that. Ellen says she had 2 ounces of grilled tuna steak with a few grapes. Let's see. Yeah, so that's good work that you didn't attack the food. So I don't know how much 2 ounces of grilled tuna steak is for protein, but let's look at upping your protein, Ellen. That'll be a huge win for you. Cool. So Angie, good job then, for sure. So Angie's responding to the comment I said about, what happens when you run out of popcorn. And she said she did not have anything. So that's perfect. You're breaking the habit, which is good. Jill says, eat more for breakfast and lunch, and then your extra protein for dinner. Then you're not as hungry late at night. That's a great plan. Kim, you did? So cool. Good. So Kim shared the rule of thirds at your meeting. Yep. And then pre-tracking, you guys are talking about pre-tracking as much, especially as you go. So cool. All right. Well, that's, we made it to the bottom there. I'll get the show released so that it gets to the air. But as always, thank you for being here, right? It's fun, to get this done. And so, truly more than I enjoy doing this from the standpoint of, I want you to find whatever it takes to get this done, so that you will understand what I now understand. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep tracking. As, I say at the end of the show, it takes focus and discipline, but you can do it. So I wish you good focus. Good night.